to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of our Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kaikut, Semiahmoo, and the Tawasin First Nations. Also, we're on the land of the Inuit and Métis peoples. They all have a special connection to the land and waters surrounding our great city of Surrey. Thank you so much for allowing us to be on your land. I'd also like to thank our sponsors. Surrey Board of Trade events could not happen without corporate sponsors. Thank you so much to our supporting sponsor, the Health and Technology District by the Lark Group. And our business and international trade center sponsors are the law firm of Fasken, the group insurance plan represented by SNF Benefits, Scotiabank, BDC. Thank you so much for your partnership to the Surrey Board of Trade's Business and International Trade Center. Thank you. Some government officials that are in the audience today: Minister of Energy, Mines, and Low Carbon Innovation, and MLA for Surrey Wally, Bruce Ralston. City of Surrey, Mayor Doug McCallum. City of Surrey Councillors Linda Annis and Brenda Locke. And a great partner of our International Trade Center at the Surrey Board of Trade, the Consul General of Ireland, Mr. Frank Flood. Our Surrey Board of Trade directors, just hold your applause as I announce them. Mr. Balji Dhaliwal, our board chair with Tinker's Tax and Accounting. Rory Morgan with KSW, our vice chair and chair of the Board of Trade's transportation team. Sasha Ramnarine of Remedios and Company and chair of the Board of Trade's Tourism, Arts and Culture team. Mike Speece from Scotiabank, chair of the Board of Trade Social Policy and Workforce team, and Roger Steers of RJC Engineers and chair of our youth team. Thank you so much for attending. Ladies and gentlemen, the Surrey Board of Trade is one of the top 10 largest chambers of commerce boards of trades in the country. There's 450 of us. Our whole mandate is to support business, bring business into the city through a diversified service portfolio. To tell you more about the Board of Trade and the great city that we live in right here in Surrey, British Columbia, turn your attention to the screen. As one of the fastest growing cities in Canada, Surrey is an opportunity city. The Surrey Board of Trade is the concierge of connections.
Rick Mann from IOM Property Group. I'm a Director of Development and Construction. We rely on the Surrey Board of Trade for a lot of advocacy and research that we don't actively go out and find. Really, like there's things on there that I had no idea about, and I get the email, I get the web link, and it really affects us in a big way.
The Surrey Board of Trade is focused on making Surrey an opportunity city by instigating change at the different levels of government, offering a variety of business support services, international trade support services, and being the concierge of connections for the business community in Surrey.
My name is Rowena Rizzotti. I'm the Vice President of Healthcare and Innovation here at the Health and Technology District by the Lark Group. We focus on a lot of health and technologies and how we can bring different technologies and innovative healthcare solutions into the hands of clinicians. So there's a tremendous amount of information and support that the Surrey Board of Trade offers to these companies, and it's an opportunity for me to be able to translate what the Surrey Board of Trade is doing for some of those companies and helping those companies to succeed.
If it's in the agricultural sector or in the retail sector, if they're needing a government connection, if they have an issue related to government, we are there for them, and we have a proven track record of success to ensure that businesses are helped.
You know, the Surrey Board of Trade it's a great organization because anybody who is involved in that organization wants to be a more proactive member of the community. So having an opportunity to connect and network with those individuals helps our business become better.
So the Surrey Board of Trade offers an immense amount of support for businesses at all levels, including entrepreneurs and startup businesses. There are resources that help a business that they wouldn't necessarily be able to afford to contract on their own, and it allows those to be accessible, sometimes free of cost. It also creates opportunities for networking.
Whether you're a new business that's just opening up shop in Surrey, Surrey Board of Trade has to be one of your top destinations. It will connect you with a lot of the great minds in the organization, a lot of great minds in the community that can help.
So whether you're a small business or a medium-sized business or a large business, starting out or expanding, we have the connections. We have the resources to ensure that you have what you need during your journey as an entrepreneur. So ladies and gentlemen, Surrey is an opportunity city. It's an economic powerhouse. A third of our population is under the age of 19. We have the greatest number of manufacturers in British Columbia. We're a border city. We have an international docking facility. Our whole ecosystem of economic development is significant. And we are so pleased to welcome UBC to Surrey's economic development ecosystem. A round of applause to UBC. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention before I introduce our keynote speaker this afternoon. Last week, we launched a new what is happening every single day at the Surrey Board of Trade is we are receiving calls from different businesses saying, I need 5 staff, I need 1,000 staff, I need them to have this type of skill set. What was missing in our human resource paradigm is that bridge. So last week, we launched a job center called the Employee Bridge to really ensure that job seekers of all ages, including youth, are connected to employers that are in need. Our number one economic issue that we are facing in Canada is around labor shortages and skill shortages. So we are filling that niche, and I believe we're the only business organization, Board of Trade Chamber, that has this significant connector. I also wanted to mention to UBC's president and his team that we have a youth team at the Surrey Board of Trade. We have about 550 alumni of our top 25 under 25 awards that are contributing significantly to Surrey's community development, entrepreneurial ecosystem. They are just dynamic, they are inspirational. And our youth team are really focused on creating and bridging those connections between industry needs, curriculum development, and economic development. And that is why we're so pleased at the Surrey Board of Trade that UBC is being added to our education ecosystem to really support our human capital needs. So, ladies and gentlemen, your keynote speaker for this afternoon, he's been the president and vice chancellor of UBC since 2016. He serves as chair of the University 15 group of universities, on the board of directors of Universities Canada, past chair of research for Universities of BC, member of the boards of Fulbright and MITAX. He's served on the boards of the American Council on Education and the Council on Competitiveness. And he is also a Chief Innovation Advisor to the BC government. In 2018, he served as co-chair of the Tri-Council Advisory Committee on Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, a very important philosophy and principle that needs to be a foundation for all of our businesses and our organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome, for the first time to the Surrey Board of Trade, the President of the University of British Columbia, Mr. Santa Ono.
Well, Anita, you are a hard act to follow. I'm telling you. I can get excited about anything listening to you. But I do want to say that I'm very excited to be here. Surrey is a dynamic place. And all of you here should be proud of, I would say, one of the great success stories in Canada. And, we've been talking about increasing our presence in Surrey for some time. A number of different government officials have approached us, and I'm just blown away with the energy here, with the innovation here, and UBC wants to grow our presence here in a very serious way. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. This is really my first time addressing the formal way a Surrey audience. And I, too, would like to acknowledge that we are in the traditional ancestral territory of the Coast Salish people. And I want to also acknowledge the Inuit and Métis Nations people, as you did, who live and work on these territories. And I look forward to beginning a dialogue with all of you. Some of you have given me your business cards already, and I hope that you will reach out to me if you haven't. This is going to be quite the next several months as we engage with you, and we engage with the leadership of the faculties, our great faculties at UBC, to really do this right, to really meet the needs that you've articulated in your opening comments, to be an institution that serves the province, that educates the incredible dynamism in the youth of this region, young families that are here, and the companies that are here or that are thinking of moving here. We view UBC as an economic spark plug. We want to be there shoulder to shoulder with you to help continue this tremendous success story that is Surrey. From UBC, you can see around this room, we have some of our best academic leaders here. And I hope that's an indication to all of you of how seriously we take our expansion into Surrey. They have shown great enthusiasm over the past several months for this new UBC site. And so I want to introduce some of them to you. Some of them are very familiar to you. For example, our Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and UBC's Vice President of Health, Dermot Kelleher. Dermot, please stand. Our Dean of the Faculty of Science, who has been thinking about Surrey for some time and has some wonderful plans, Megan Aronson. Let's give a round of applause to Megan Aronson. Our Dean of the Faculty of Land and Food Systems that has been talking to us for some time also about all kinds of opportunities here in Surrey, Ricky Yada. Ricky. You may not be able to notice it, but he has a trademark. He wears shorts, even in the wintertime, even in the coldest days of winter. But he and I have had a number of conversations about what can happen here in terms of dietetics and also agriculture, agri-tech, things that we're going to talk about a little bit more in the next several minutes. And I can tell you that our new Dean of the Faculty of Forestry, I don't think he's with us today, is very keen as well. And so you can see there is a considerable amount of enthusiasm and energy already building. And in early January, we'll have a set of meetings between myself and the deans and the deans and the provosts, and other members of the administration to really map out our vision for this very exciting new Surrey campus. I should also say that we have Peter Smales, who's sort of a right-hand partner of mine, who is responsible for everything financial and buildings and grounds. Peter Smales, please stand. And we also have a very high-ranking member of our alma mater society, our vice president. Ishana, would you please stand? Let's hear it for her. And I got to tell you, Ishana told me that she has taken that long trek from Surrey to Point Grey, 4 hours, right, to get back and forth. It's for students like you and the thousands of students and faculty and staff that commute every day back and forth between Surrey and Point Grey. This is just as much about you as it is about research and teaching. Let's hear it for the students of UBC. I was told that Surrey audiences like to clap, so that's why I'm giving a shout out to all these amazing people. But I will get down to substance in a second. But really, you can see how excited we are at the University of British Columbia to connect with you. And this is really part of a dialogue that begins today that we want to have with you, between myself and you, between the different academic leaders of the institution, between members of the executive and you. That's the way we want to co-create a vision of what we want to do here at Surrey. It's very exciting, and what you already know that we have done is just the beginning. We will hopefully in the near future announce an additional acquisition that will grow even further our plans for expansion here into Surrey. Are you excited about that? So I'm very happy to be addressing you, the members of the Surrey Board of Trade, and our honored guests. Before I go any further, though, I want to emphasize from the outset that UBC is here to listen to your community, both now and in the coming months and years ahead. We want to co-create this together. We've already heard some amazing input from Anita and the other members of the board, and we want to do that intensively over the next several months. It's important to listen to the community. And the great 13th century poet, I'm no humanist, I'm an immunologist, but the great 13th century poet Rumi said, "Clean out your ears and don't listen for what you already know." We come here, we clean out our ears. UBC and I are here to listen. Over the next several months and several years, we are here as your partners. And I'd like to for this meeting to be the start of an invaluable dialogue so that we can look forward to hearing your questions in a few minutes' time after my introductory remarks. But let me bring you back to 1906. There's a reason why I want to do that. Because here, as we are at the beginning point of a new chapter for UBC and hopefully this relationship between Surrey and UBC, I want you to think back to 1906. In what was then called Vancouver College, that was taken over by a university, an older university in Montreal called McGill University. McGill had come out west. They looked at Vancouver and Victoria, and they renamed those institutions the McGill University College of British Columbia. That didn't sit too well with the youth and leaders of Vancouver and Vancouver Island. So in 1908, the BC government made a momentous decision, a bold one, a decision that some questioned at the time, to build a new university called the University of British Columbia, to serve and to enrich the people of British Columbia. In fact, the motto that we still have today, some of you know because a lot of you are UBC graduates, was named then for that reason, Tuum Est, it is yours. It's not McGill University. This is your University of British Columbia. Now, some of you may know the history. As we're here at the beginning of a new chapter of the institution. Initial progress was slow, and this is not going to be slow, what we're going to do here. But just so you know, this other chapter in the university's history, it was slow, and it wasn't until 1915, 9 years later, at the height of the World War, the first one, that this tiny new university moved into something called the Fairview Shacks near the Vancouver General Hospital. Some of you may know about those shacks. And we still have some shacks on campus now. In 1925, UBC made the big move, and this was after a great trek, where the youth of the province said, we need to have a presence of this great new university. In 1925, UBC moved to its first permanent campus at Point Grey, where we are now, the largest campus of UBC. This was a long journey, as I can tell you, and the first president of UBC, Frank Westbrook, had many, many sleepless nights wondering what was going to happen with this bold vision, whether there was going to be enough money, whether it was really going to be a success. But look at UBC today, and look at what happened with that bold vision. That vision that first some people questioned, and where even Frank Westbrook was wondering whether it would actually become a reality. I think if Frank Westbrook was here today, that he would say that the university that has come to be in just a little bit more than a century vastly exceeds any expectation or dream that he ever had. It's important to be bold and to go where the puck is going, not where the puck is. And that I give credit to the founders and the students who demanded that this province have its own great university. That idea was propelled by a bold vision and a commitment to serve the people of British Columbia, just like is our intent in expanding into Surrey. More than 100 years later, that same vision and drive has made UBC now one of the top 35 universities in the world. And it's not just in Point Grey, it's also in downtown Vancouver and Robson Square. We're investing in that. In Kelowna, as you know, with UBC Okanagan, and we're expanding there in downtown Okanagan, and now, very excitedly, here in Surrey. That's what can happen if you have a vision, and you keep showing up, and you keep believing in big dreams. That's what Surrey is about. And that's what excites us about Surrey. We now have more than 90,000 faculty, staff, and students coming to our campuses every day. Who would have ever imagined that that's what would have happened when Frank Westbrook, the first president, wondered whether the bold vision would ever become a reality? Now I can assure you that we'll be moving much faster, as I said, here in Surrey than that first bold step a century ago. To give you an idea, in 2005, you may remember that there was a small institution with not much of an enrollment called Okanagan College. The province approached Martha Piper, and it became part of UBC Okanagan. The province had confidence that the university could take this college and make it into a vibrant institution, a research university that could serve the youth of the interior of the province, and it has come true. UBC has transformed that institution. The students there are absolutely first rate. We are attracting great faculty from around the world. And the degree of the students there is exactly the same as the degree that we confer in Point Grey. How history repeats itself, I'd say. And now we want to do the same thing here in Surrey. And you know that this is something that many institutions have shown succeeds. You know of the University of Toronto has gone beyond their initial campus and has very successful campuses in Mississauga in the west and Scarborough in the east. And there's the examples throughout Canada and even in the US, where Northeastern and Purdue University not only expand within their nation, but actually across borders, with Northeastern, as you know, having a campus here in Vancouver and Toronto. What all these great endeavors and bold visions have in common with our Surrey vision is that they all needed a long-term vision beyond the next 5 years. A bold vision of what could be in the next 20, 30, or 40 years. As I said, Wayne Gretzky said, I skate to where the puck is going, not where it has been. And like Surrey, UBC has its skates on, and we know where we want to go. You all know this. Surrey is the most exciting place in all of Canada. Wouldn't you agree? Pretty exciting. It's booming. You now have approximately 600,000 people here, innovative, energetic people, the kind of people we want at UBC. It's the second largest city in BC right now, soon to be the first largest city. In fact, Business in Vancouver is projecting that that will happen within a decade, as you know. Approximately 1,500 people are moving into Surrey each month, and 25% of Surrey's population is under the age of 20. And that's our sweet spot as a post-secondary institution. We want to connect with these young people, and we want to connect with the entrepreneurs that are here. We want to help make their dreams a reality, which is why universities exist. Surrey is truly the home of the future workforce, not only here, but this entire province, and we argue it's incredibly important for all of Canada. It hasn't escaped our notice that it's also a little bit more affordable than Point Grey, a place where perhaps as a university we can attract and continue to attract the world's greatest professors to come and live here and to educate the youth of Surrey and to act as economic spark plugs to the innovation culture which is so evident here. Yes, Surrey is growing and thriving, and UBC wants to play a big part in its future. I want to thank you so much for welcoming us here. But first, I think it's worth reminding ourselves what exactly is UBC's current presence in Surrey, and it's substantial. Not many people actually know about the extent of which we are already here in Surrey. You've seen in that video the vision of the LARC group, and I've actually seen it in person. I've actually done a site visit with my whole team and been incredibly impressed with the vision for health innovation. It makes absolute sense that UBC, one of the top 20 or so academic health centers in the world, should partner with that vision that you've put forward. You helped convince me that we should be here. Let's hear it for them. Right now, as you know, we're already working alongside our health authority and community partners in Surrey and the Fraser Valley, most notably in the field of healthcare, wherever we can add the most value. And that's why Dermot Kelleher, our Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Vice President of Health, is here. And he was with me when we site visited this location. It only makes sense for UBC to be part of this dynamic vision. Most visible, of course, is UBC's significant health presence, not only at Surrey Memorial Hospital, where we have dedicated space, but also at clinical academic sites across the Fraser region, from Burnaby to Surrey and the Fraser Canyon. Every day across these sites, more than 700 UBC clinical faculty, 700 faculty are deeply involved in training and mentoring the next generation of doctors and healthcare professionals, and that is just going to grow with the support of the provincial government. Every year, more than 5,000 medical and health professional students and postgraduate doctor rotations take place in hospitals in this region, in primary care settings, and clinics right here in the Fraser region. Learners train alongside world-class UBC clinical faculty, that's 700, in areas like family practice, emergency medicine, midwifery, and other specializations. I bet you didn't know that 5,000 medical health profession students train here on an annual basis. And on top of that, we have 200 UBC nursing students that undertake training in the Fraser Health region annually, and 100 pharmaceutical science students taking place in placements at 57 different sites in the Fraser region. It's something that is not well understood. And maybe you've even met a student trainee, as I have, maybe when you get your flu shot or your COVID vaccination. And did you know that 1/3 of all UBC medical students come from high schools from this region? 1 out of every 3 medical students comes from here. And even more importantly, did you know that 60% of the UBC faculty of family medicine postgraduate residents train in the Fraser region, and they return here and set up practice in the Fraser region? So the Faculty of Medicine and the health professions already has a very critical role in healthcare delivery in this entire region. I don't think it's well understood. As of 2017, more than 760 UBC graduates are practicing in the Fraser in areas like family medicine and specialty programs such as psychiatry and rehabilitation, obstetrics and gynecology, emergency medicine, as I said. And they're aware of the need to practice inclusive, culturally safe care. In 2004, the Faculty of Medicine created the UBC Indigenous MD admissions program, one of the most pioneering programs anywhere around the world. And it is incredibly successful and incredibly impactful. We are training more Indigenous doctors than ever before, with more than 110 Indigenous medical graduates to date, with many of them working right here in the Fraser Valley. We also have another large group of UBC people right here in Surrey. There are 3,500 students at UBC right now, and 750 faculty members, and 15,000 UBC alumni who call Surrey home. So we're already here. Many of you and many of your friends are UBC students, faculty, and staff, and we want to bring UBC to what they call home. It makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense to spend 4 hours going back and forth, whether you're a student or whether you're a staff member or you're a faculty member. Let's bring UBC to Surrey to make it easier, and at the same time, driving down GHG emissions. It makes absolute sense for the wellness of our faculty, staff, and students. It also makes absolute sense in terms of our climate action plan. Can I ask for a show of hands for those of you who actually are a student, faculty, or staff, or an alumnus of UBC? Please raise your hands so you can see the impact of UBC already in this region. UBC already has many multiple partnerships in Surrey in sectors such as urban design, and some of you are represented here, sustainability, health data science, traffic safety, education as the primary site for teacher education in the province, immigrant settlement, technology and innovation, and more. And then a great example right here in Surrey is Next Innovations, a partnership with UBC that makes fully recyclable plant-based coffee pods, something that I use several times a day. So I think it's fair to say that our two communities, UBC, both Vancouver and the Okanagan, and Surrey, are already inextricably linked. Just think about all those hands that were raised about your connections with UBC. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with Stephen Wu. Where's Stephen? Let's hear for Stephen. Where are you? There you go. Let's hear for Stephen, Manager of Economic Development for the City of Surrey, who is here today and a proud UBC graduate. I got to tell you, Stephen, that in our conversation, as I said to you when we met, it's really uncanny how Surrey's priorities and goals and aspirations almost completely overlay with UBC's. It was immediately apparent in our conversation yesterday. And some of the ideas are health innovation, as we discussed, but also therapeutics and diagnostics. I won't talk about the companies that we talked about yesterday because some of those are secret. Ag tech, clean and renewable energy, those are top priorities for the academic mission and research mission of UBC, as is the importance of computer science, both in education and as a platform for the digital technologies, for example, the Digital Technology Supercluster, of which UBC was a founding member. So that conversation made it crystal clear that there are many opportunities for us to come together, for us to contribute to elevating each of your different sectors, whatever it might be, and to help turbocharge, if you will, the aspirations of Surrey. What's already exciting, we believe, with the partnership with UBC can be turbocharged, if you will. Of course, UBC's partnerships with the private sector extend far beyond the Fraser region. And I want to talk about some of them because we want to bring them here to have a positive impact on what you're doing here. UBC Technologies are already, as you know, the heart of some of the biggest companies in Canada. You may know that Stem Cell Technologies is the largest biotechnology company in Canada. You may know that Epsilera was the largest IPO in the history of biotech IPOs. And these are just two examples of UBC spin-offs that are having an impact on British Columbia as well as all of Canada. We want to bring that know-how, that technology transfer capability, and our advice to local businesses to Surrey to help you achieve your dreams. This has generated UBC spin-offs, an estimated $11.5 billion in sales that have formed the basis of more than 200 spin-off companies just in the past decade. And the economic impact of UBC and its research exceeds $14 billion annually. We want some of that economic impact to come to Surrey. Since 2013, UBC has also offered support for new private sector venture creation through our creative destruction labs and through our incubators, where our students, faculty, and staff, and also investors come together on multiple incubators sponsored by UBC through our platform, Entrepreneurship at UBC, or just E at UBC. We want to bring that here to Surrey as well. And I think that many of you probably have great ideas about how we can bring that to Surrey and to help as a platform for you to launch additional spin-offs. We are here to partner with you. But UBC is also part of the launching of a new corridor. And some of you may be very familiar with that. It's going to have a huge impact on Surrey, not too far from where we're going to set up shop here in Surrey. A part of a corridor of innovation which is one of the most innovative anywhere in the world. And that's the Pacific Northwest, or the Cascadia corridor, as you know. On an annual basis for the past 6 years, we've all come together with the great universities in the Pacific Northwest and the U.S. Surrey is going to be at the heart of that vision, and Surrey is going to benefit big time. Now I want to move on to some specifics of the UBC site in Surrey, which I'm sure you're all anxious to hear about. UBC has acquired as the first step 135,000 square foot of property, currently the home of the Grace Hannon Community Church, at the intersection of King George Boulevard and the Fraser Highway. We think it's a great position here in Surrey, and just the first step, as you heard. You may be familiar with the site, which is located close to SkyTrain. That's nice for our students, faculty, and staff. They're going to come back and forth. Surrey Memorial Hospital, where we already have a major footprint, and many other community amenities. And as I said, we are closely evaluating adjacent properties to potentially further expand our presence here in Surrey. We haven't determined the exact composition of our research and teaching activities on the site yet. That's going to happen in close consultation with you, as well as the deans and the heads and directors of the institution. They have to drive the academic mission. We have to co-create it, listening to you. But we do have some initial, very high-level ideas of how the site might be used, just to give you a little bit of a taste of what we have in mind. Well, obviously, because of the Health Innovation District here and our massive presence, we will be expanding our medical research activities and training activities. And also we believe that there is, through funding through the province, in the areas of OT and PT. And we also believe there's opportunities in dentistry. That immediately comes to mind. The proximity to the Surrey Memorial Hospital is clearly a major opportunity for collaboration in other areas of health practice as well. So that's one area. As I said, the faculties of Forestry and Land and Food Systems, Ricky Yada, seem to have a natural fit. And we will be having intensive conversations in January and beyond to think about that. In the areas of food, nutrition, and health, nutritional science, dietetics, and food science, Ricky's faculty. UBC is the only institution in BC that offers a registered dietetics program, and I know that there's quite a need for that here in Surrey. Urban forestry. UBC is fortunate to have what's widely considered to be the premier forestry program in the world. We believe that urban forestry, where the city of Surrey is very active and where our professors and students are already engaged, is another area for program development. And as I mentioned, as UBC is the major teacher education center for the province, and the demand for new teachers and heads of schools is high in this region, we believe that we can serve the youth through the Faculty of Education. And then there's continuing education. Although the average age of the families in this region is very young, we believe that, as you know, most individuals will have multiple jobs during their career. Many people want to upskill or reskill post-pandemic. That's one area that we believe that we can really contribute as a university. We can envision a model where we can meet the needs of professionals and other lifelong learners that don't have to commute for 4 hours to get back and forth to Point Grey, that we can actually deliver it here and people can walk across the street or drive for 2 to 5 minutes to get to UBC here in Surrey. And the kinds of courses that we can deliver include courses in coding that could be very important in upskilling and reskilling, health administration because of the Health Innovation District, economics, Scotiabank, or whatever. There are many opportunities and many programs that we could potentially deliver here in Surrey, eliminating hours of commuting time, removing the barrier for people in Surrey to receive a UBC education, whether it's a full degree, whether it's continuing education, or whether it's a micro-credential. Some of you may know that UBC was approved by the province to deliver a number of micro-credential programs. We could build upon that. It's something that the province has asked us to do in their mandate letter, and providing this upskilling opportunity for the citizens of Surrey to support youth and other individuals to develop the skills that are needed here in Surrey. We want to be part of the solution of the workforce needs of this community so that people can achieve jobs that they may not initially be trained for, and so that the momentum of this community can be fully realized. Given that there are already so many faculty and staff here in Surrey and the Fraser region, I believe that certain lower year classes could be delivered here by lecture capture or physically face-to-face, cutting commuting times for our students and for our faculty and for our staff as well, lowering emissions and raising the overall quality of life of faculty, staff, and students. I could go on, but I've already spoken too much. And I just want to end by saying that this is a major priority for the university. The completion of this site is something that will probably take a year or more, but I've already received countless messages, probably over 100, from members of the Surrey community, from businesses, from politicians, from students, from teachers that are excited about UBC's expansion into Surrey, wanting to have a stronger UBC presence in this city. And we will work together. I will be directly involved. The deans and the heads and directors will be directly involved, and we will create something great. And just like I said, over a century ago, when the vision of the Westbrook, of the campus in Point Grey was a dream, I believe that the same will happen here in Surrey. We're fortunate that this new UBC site in Surrey has been welcomed by all levels of government, including Ann Kang, the BC Minister of Advanced Education, Skills and Training, Bruce Ralston, MLA for Surrey Rachna Singh, who I just met with just about an hour ago from Surrey Green Timbers, Doug McCallum, Mayor of Surrey, and Randeep Sarai, MP for Surrey Centre. By the way, 3 of these 5 are UBC alumni. Let's hear it for them. So I'm going to stop talking now. I've spoken enough. I'd love to get some questions from you. I'd love to hear your ideas. The listening begins today. This is a co-creation exercise. My hope is that 10, 20, 50 years from now, this bold idea, this step that we're taking today, that our presence in Surrey will greatly outgrow the initial site, delivering multiple programs, hopefully up to 10,000 or more students, a comparable or even greater number than are currently on the UBC Okanagan campus. If that gives you some sort of idea of our ambitions, then hopefully that excites you just as much as it does me. What I'm sure of is that when we look back 20 or 30 years from now, we will all be proud of today, of what we built together for the generations to come. Thank you for listening to me. I'm looking forward to answering any questions from you. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do have a question, please go to the microphone, state your name, your company name, and your question very succinctly. To the microphone.
Dr. Ono, Alan Davis, President and Vice-Chancellor, Kwantlen Polytechnic University. Thank you for being here today and for your remarks. KPU celebrates 40 years in Surrey this year, and we have 3 campuses here, and our good friends at Simon Fraser celebrate, I think, next year, 20 years in Surrey, and we just want to welcome you. World-class cities require world-class universities, and we believe together we can do some wonderful things, and we look forward to engaging with you. And I don't know if you have any ideas about what that might look like, but anyway, welcome, and I just want everybody to understand how excited we all are for this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I just wanted to say that that's part of the attraction, is because of your decades of presence here and everything that you've done. You know, the strength of the post-secondary sector here in British Columbia is that we all bring something to the table and all boats rise together. We are enthusiastically looking forward to interacting with SFU and with KPU. So impressed with what you both have done. We already collaborate in a number of different ways. Our collaborations with SFU in, for example, cancer genomics and very world-class efforts is just one example of what we can accomplish together. And let's do it here in Surrey. So thank you so much.
So, Santo, you know, today we're going to be meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, right after this event. The federal fiscal update is being released right now. What is it that the post-secondary industry needs from the federal government, especially as hopefully we move out of this pandemic?
Well, you know, the federal government and the provincial government are both, you know, critically important for the post-pandemic economy. And I want to just thank the provincial government for the robust support of all of our institutions. We're very lucky to be here in British Columbia. The support has been unwavering, and they've done everything they can to help us with this pandemic situation. We have brilliant individuals in the provincial government, and we're very, very grateful for that. We wouldn't be, any of us wouldn't be the institutions that we are without that long-standing support from the provincial government. So I want to start with that. But I think the federal government, to your point, also has a critical role to play. You probably know that we have brought in about $760 million this year in research and development funding. And we would like to see some of that actually here in Surrey, more of it here in Surrey. And that's absolutely possible. You know, if you look at what's happened at the UBC Okanagan campus over just the past 5 or 6 years, that is the most rapidly growing destination for Tri-Council grants anywhere in the country. If you actually look at the percentage of growth, that growth has been remarkable there. And so I fully expect that that can be realized here in Surrey as well, with all of the academic partners and the Health Innovation District here. I think that that can happen here in Surrey. So to answer your question, the federal government, provides much of that substantive investigator-initiated support for the ideas that will really spur new industries in the future. You can see that with the provincial and federal investment in quantum. There's a quantum national strategy. The British Columbia provincial government has made I think, a substantive investment in Surrey to support quantum. SFU and UBC bring a lot to the table. That's a bold investment by the provincial government that will attract federal dollars. And so that cooperation between the institutions and provincial and federal government is absolutely key. So because the federal government, through the tri-councils, provide much of the R&D support for universities, and in this country, that kind of innovative research occurs more in universities here than, say, south of the border. The federal government, we hope, will continue to make the kinds of investments in fundamental science that are the seed corn to future innovation and future companies and the well-being of people in Surrey and across British Columbia. So we do hope that the federal government will continue to make investments in fundamental research. We should also say that, as is evidenced by the investment in the quantum strategy, that's a beautiful example of Fed-Prov collaboration with the post-secondary sector, that there's a major initiative that's under discussion right now, which could very well have a footprint here in Surrey. You may know from the budget that $2.2 billion is being put aside for investments in bio-innovation and biomanufacturing. And Surrey is a very, very attractive destination, as Stephen and I discussed, to build a Canadian ecosystem so that we can be more resilient and more responsive to any future pandemic. So the federal government's already doing that, and the provincial government and we and other institutions and companies are already talking about how to do that. That's all going to unfold over the next several months. Dermot Kelleher is a big part of that discussion. We need the federal government to continue to make strategic investments in those kinds of transformative technologies, as the province has done. But we also need them to continue to fund fundamental science, which is, if you think about, for example, mRNA vaccines, which is a 40-year investment by both the provincial and federal government in the generation of nanoparticles, lipid nanoparticles. Peter Cullis in our Faculty of Medicine, that made possible the Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines. So, and the same thing can be said about federal investments in artificial intelligence. The reason why Canada and BC and Surrey are world leaders in AI is because the federal government had the foresight to just invest in investigator-initiated research over the long term. And so the federal government has to do both. Invest in those targeted programs that we need right now to become more resilient and to really be a spark plug for the post-pandemic economy. But they also have to have the long-term vision of investing in discoveries, fundamental discoveries that will be needed in the future. And we may not know what those discoveries will be, just like we did not know that Peter Cullis's research that had nothing to do with mRNA vaccines, that he would get a call from the University of Pennsylvania, and Drew Weissman would say, we have an idea of a transformative way to make vaccines rapidly that may one day be useful for infectious diseases and for cancer. And it's going to be true, and it happened here in BC. And be proud of it, everybody.
Absolutely. Santa, one of the things that we're seeing a lot of is a gentrification from Vancouver into Surrey and the South Fraser region by artists. trying to make a living, musicians. We have a Music City Center at the Surrey Board of Trade. Tell me about UBC's commitment in Surrey in terms of partnerships with the arts and culture community. Are you going to build a performing arts center as part of your campus?
Well, I'll tell you that we have one of the top music schools in Canada. It's actually quite highly ranked globally. And we also have a film and theater program that's absolutely first rate, one of the great international film and theater schools. And I know that Surrey is a vibrant arts community, and our musicians, our performing artists, singers and instrumentalists, they're always looking for somewhere to play. We also have, pretty considerable holdings in terms of fine art, and we can't display but a fraction of what we have. And so I think there are huge opportunities for UBC to contribute to the cultural vibrancy of Surrey. And it's too early, it would be premature to say we're going to do something. But like I said, when you think back to the Point Grey campus, when it was just a couple of buildings, a chemistry building, an old library, a geography building, a math building, there's just a few core buildings. Look at what's there now, the Chan Center for the Performing Arts. So, let's co-create, let's envision, let's think about that. There are many opportunities for our students and our faculty that are really fantastic performing artists. And as I said, fine arts and film and theater, there are a myriad of opportunities. And I think if we brainstorm together, all of us together, we can identify those opportunities. I won't actually speak about the company, but I know that there's Surrey is an attractive destination for film. And it might even be for streaming. And so we have a film and theater program, and we have been a very, very important generator of talent for that workforce need. And that's just going to go through the roof. The credibility and recognition of BC as a center for film and theater is known worldwide. And I think it's going to grow. And so I think that that's certainly an opportunity. It's not for me to say as president of the university on my own. The faculties are led, as you saw, by great deans. And they know better than I what the opportunities are. But I can tell you for sure, in both of those different arenas, whether it's fine art or performing art, that we are looking seriously at how we can share that across the province. The last thing I'll say is that UBC has a pretty long track record in essentially a distributed model of education. The Faculty of Medicine is one of the largest medical schools in North America. And we have a lot of experience in sharing what we do in Point Grey with destinations around the entire province. And so when it comes to how quickly can we share content, say from Vancouver with Surrey, we have that pretty much down pat. We've been doing it almost longer than anybody else has done. So we can do it virtually. I do know from some deans that we really are interested in having not just a virtual connection through lecture capture and streaming things to what might be built here, but we really have an interest in face-to-face instruction. The other top priority, I would say, for the students here is the student experience. We really, as I said early on, it takes a lot out of a student to have to commute for 4 hours. And so one of the things that we want to build into our vision, and we want your help, is what should we put into this site so that we can recapitulate and maybe even improve upon how we provide a fulsome experience for students here who may be getting much of their instruction in Surrey. So we have to envision all that, and we'll do it together. I think what will happen is that I'll hopefully, if you'll have me again, I'll come back and show you some images and depictions of what we come up with together. This is just the first such dialogue.
Education and transportation are the foundations of our economy. Everything else flows from there. What about your vision for housing needs for your students? What kind of construction is needed for housing a UBC student population?
Yeah, that's another area that we have quite a bit of experience in. We have some folks there that have been building some amazing, I would say I'm very proud, best in class residence halls. We've really innovated in thinking about things like collegia. So for those who are actually commuting, spaces where we bring home to the student that's away from home. They have kitchens, they have living rooms, they have places to watch TV, to play pool, to play ping pong. That may seem like it's just entertainment, but wellness is a prerequisite for someone to be prepared to receive education and to benefit from that education. And so that's a very, very critical investment in the thinking about how we plan campuses. And we have a whole division of campus and community planning that thinks about all of that. When they think about a residence hall, they have so much experience in what needs to go into those residential buildings to ensure that the wellness of the student is at the fore. We can do better, for sure. And we're constantly trying to improve. But we hope that what we build here in Surrey will benefit from all of that experience. You may or may not know that we have the largest residential campus in all of Canada. We have over, I think, 14,000 beds, soon to be 16,000 beds. It's extraordinary. And so all that experience on both the Okanagan and Vancouver campuses will come to bear.
So that's another economic development benefit of having UBC in Surrey, right?
Yeah. We also have a little bit of experience. I don't know if Aubrey's here. We have a little bit of experience with real estate development and putting up places for faculty and staff and others to live, and partnering with different development companies. And what's done is something, what has been created, for example, in Westbrook Village, is an internationally recognized quality, not only of the build, but also of the way everything is thought through from a sustainability standpoint, but also for a quality of life. If you actually look at the, for example, the community centers that have been built on the Point Grey campus in the Westbrook Village, there are more community services available than would be expected in a community of that size. So UBC really places that, and UBC Properties Trust really places that as a priority for us. We want to build in a way that we're taking care of the wellness of every resident of those communities, whether they're the parents or the students. We think about schools in those areas. We think about partnerships with other organizations. You may know that the Whitecaps actually train in a shared facility with the UBC Thunderbirds. So those are all the things that we want to, a lot of experiences that we want to bring here to Surrey and work with you and other members of the Board of Trade.
If there are any questions from the audience, please go to the microphone. My next question is related to workforce shortages, which I mentioned is really eroding the bottom line for businesses. And my first part of that is related to veterans. The LARC group, they're building a center of excellence in terms of a veterans village. I'm an honorary captain of the Royal Canadian Navy appointed by the Defense Minister. Surrey is so important to the Defense Minister. I'm just wondering how UBC is going to work with veterans as part of a workforce solution paradigm.
I was looking for my mask because my mask actually honors veterans of the Canadian military forces, and it must be there. I don't know. I can't find it when you need it. But I have a long history of honoring veterans. I think it's one of my strategic priorities as president was to make UBC the most veteran-friendly university in Canada. Some of you know, not everybody knows. I guess we can't announce it yet because it hasn't been approved. But we're hoping to have a space that veterans have put their lives in harm's way for our democracy and our freedom. I applaud you for what you're doing, and we share those values. They're my personal heroes. Never a day goes by that I'm not grateful for the sacrifices that they have made for the freedoms that we enjoy. And so we share that perspective, and certainly, just as we're thinking about spaces for veterans, they have special needs. They tend to be older than a typical university student. They need privacy. And so we're thinking about those sorts of spaces on the Vancouver campus. We would love to have those on the Okanagan campus. We would love to partner to have those kinds of places for veterans in Surrey.
And the federal government, over the next 3 years, are bringing in 600,000 newcomers, 400,000 international students, and many of them will live in the urban centers throughout Canada, and Surrey is one of them. How are you going to, or how is UBC going to work with the federal government to make sure that we're tying industry needs to curriculum development, ensuring positive outcomes for our newcomers?
I think that the relationship with the federal government is critical, and certainly we are interacting with the different ministries as we speak with respect to getting international students here safely and to get study permits efficiently processed. So we're developing stronger and stronger partnerships with those ministries to ensure that occurs. But in terms of workforce needs, I think a lot of that should be done at the provincial level. And, like I said, I can't say enough thank yous to the provincial government for their partnership. We're going to have an intensive period of conversation over the next several months between the RUCBC, the different universities, and the Ministry of Advanced Education, Skills and Training. We're envisioning together. We're thinking about the funding of the entire sector. I think this is an opportunity for us to think that through. As you know, BC has been advocating that in some of their recommendations. And so I'm almost certain that kind of alignment will occur in the next several months. There are different perspectives on that, and I will put forward first one perspective is that one of my responsibilities as president of the university to ensure that it's not all focused on workforce needs. Certainly that's a big priority, as I have stated. That is one of the key missions of a university is to educate and train the workforce, absolutely. But there's also a very important part of UBC in this differentiated model of education in the sector that's just there for discovery and innovation. So it's really important, I think, for governments and for institutions to understand the synergies and the importance of both roles of an institution. At a place like UBC, certainly we're proud of all of the individuals in health professions and in applied science and science, all the professional schools that we are actually directly feeding into the workforce. But there's also, I think, another purpose, just as important, to just create knowledge and to support innovators who will just focus on something that may seem obscure today, but 4 decades from now may be the solution to the next generation of vaccines that will save millions of lives. So I think it's important for me to say that. But I also am a president that, having come from the state of Ohio, when the person who lost to Donald Trump, John Kasich, was the governor of Ohio, that I worked very hard to think about how we can align the output of what an institution produces in terms of graduates with workforce needs. And I think there are opportunities that may come out of the conversation with the ministries here where we can fine-tune that. The provincial government makes a very sizable investment in each of the institutions here in the post-secondary sector, and it is our duty to make that as efficient as possible. And there are systems that we can work on together, and we're ready to be part of that, to monitor the workforce needs on a real-time basis and to try to work with the ministries to develop programs and to hopefully streamline and expedite the approval of additional seats where needed, so that we can meet those needs. I got to tell you, in the 5.5 years that I've been here, I've been grateful with the responsiveness of the provincial government and the ministry. You may know that before I arrived, there was a real push for seats, technology seats, talent that was needed. There was an articulation of those needs by many of the CEOs of the high-tech companies here in BC. And the province was responsive. They made a major investment in tech for talent, or talent for tech. And so that's the kind of thing that's special about British Columbia, is that we have these conversations. The ministry decides, different ministries decide how to support universities. And it's not just advanced education, fisheries and forestry, health. They all work with us, and they have, during my short time here, made significant investments in each of the institutions to position British Columbia to be even more competitive, and so that our youth will have opportunities looking into the future. So we do this pretty well, and Surrey is going to be increasingly important in that whole exercise, and it's going to be the place where these dreams come true.
My last question to you is the fact that BC's economy is run by small and medium-sized businesses. 98% of our economy, not only in BC but in Canada, are driven by SMEs. How is UBC going to engage and listen with those businesses?
Yeah, you know, we're part of something on a national scale and also internationally, where we are committed to interacting with both, you know, multinational companies, Fortune 500 kinds of companies, as well as SMEs. We know how critical SMEs are to the British Columbia's economy, and so all of our faculties, all of our deans have advisory councils where they interact on a regular basis with leaders of SMEs. I interact with them on a regular basis. I often go to companies, and if there are companies here in Surrey that would love to interact with myself or others, reach out to me. We are very committed to that. But we are also committed to helping SMEs grow. And we would like BC to have more multinational companies. And you can see it happening. You know, I'm on the board of Terra Mera. As you know, we have a number of UBC spin-offs that are now getting quite large. We'd call them gazelles. When I was working with Governor John Kasich, the strategy was to take those SMEs that were getting pretty big, a couple thousand employees. You could look at it different ways. But in any case, we would identify those gazelles and we would strategically invest in them so that they could scale up to become larger and larger. That's going to be increasingly important, I think, for BC's economy as it shifts away from its traditional resource economy to one that has to capitalize on what's exciting and happening here in Surrey and elsewhere in the province. We need to figure out a way to grow them, to scale them, and to retain them. And the good news is I can tell you that serving on some of these boards and talking to some of the entrepreneurs, that there's a loyalty to BC. You know, the professors that have started Stem Cell or Accelera or Acuitas, they're receiving constant overtures, as are many companies here in Surrey, from south of the border and elsewhere around the world. And, you know, I'm optimistic because I'm going to tell you, we have some really sharp people in provincial government that are working with us. We want to be, as a university, part of the retention strategy. As a university, we want to be side by side with you when new businesses are thinking about moving here to Surrey. They're going to want to know that UBC is here. They're going to want to know that we're going to meet some of the workforce needs. And so hopefully that answers your question. We take SMEs very seriously because of the important role they play in the BC economy. But we also want to be a magnet to attract new companies to BC. I need to be there side by side with provincial officials and Surrey officials, when we roll out the carpet and try to get them here. We'll even go to them to bring them here. That's one of the things that we did in Ohio. But like I said, we also want the SMEs to grow, and we want them to stay here. And I think that's going to be the secret of success for Surrey and for BC into the future.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, are you excited about UBC in Surrey?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much to President Santa Ono for speaking to the Surrey Board of Trade in his first address to our great city. And thank you so much to all of you for attending. I know it's a week before Christmas. I really appreciate you attending. Thank you so much to our supporting sponsor, the Health and Technology District at the Lark Group. And we have many upcoming programs coming up. Just check us out at businessinsurrey.com. Ladies and gentlemen, make it a great business day. Thank you so much.